Right, we're back for the next part of our foundations and Craftsman Kit building. So this is Yard Office number 3, by the way, but from FOS Scale Models. See here? You can head on over there to fosscalemodels.com and pick up this kit if you want to build along. But the walls are glued together, and you can see there's a little bit of a crack right here. So what I'm going to show you is, now that the walls are dried, I'm actually just going to take a little bit of drywall mud. It's just joint compound. And I'm going to work it just a tiny bit into the cracks, just to cover up that seam. And I'm going to use a toothpick. And then you'll have to let this dry overnight. So this will be the only part in this video because it has to dry overnight. So I'm just going to get a little tiny bit with a toothpick worked into the crack between the walls. And you might have to use your finger just a little bit to kind of spread it thinner. And you don't want very much. Excuse me. I've been battling this cold. I think everyone's been battling a cold lately. So we're just going to run this down like this in the seam of the wall. And I'm just going to do it on 2 walls for the video's purpose, and then I'll go ahead and do the other walls. But really, what we'll do is cover up this seam, let it dry overnight, and by putting it on really thin and then smoothing it with my finger, you're going to really mask. You're not going to get like a lumpy looking joint either. You know, it's just going to cover it up, but it's going to avoid or hide that like black line. And you can use the other side of your toothpick to kind of go along with the lines in the wall, like if it's a joint right there with the stone foundation or the block foundation. There we go. All right, let me do the other one real quick, and then we'll flip it over and do the other 2. While I got you on, I might as well just do all 4 here. But what this does, and you can even come up higher here. Sorry, I'll get back on camera. Come back up higher here and hit this top section. Make that transition a little bit smoother. Right here. And the one thing that's important to make sure you do after this is dry is repaint that. So now that you have this seam created, you're going to want to come back through with the same paint. I used brick red for mine with my acrylic craft paint, but you're going to want to come back through and clean that joint back up with, hide that joint, not clean it up. I was cleaning it up with my finger as I said that. You're going to want to hide that joint compound with the same color paint that you used for your wall. So it's pretty easy to work with. You can get a pail of this stuff at Lowe's or Home Depot or your hardware store. Pretty reasonable joint compound. You can get, I think you can get little tubs of it. You don't have to buy the giant like 3 or 5 gallon bucket of joint compound. And your joint compound can be used for other things like some scenery work as well. Okay. Come down here. And I'm happy to have been able to get back to working a little bit more consistently now. I went through a couple of changes in here recently professionally, and now I'm back to a normal or semi-normal schedule where I'm able to work a little bit in the basement. All right, perfect time to be working in the basement too, because now it's cold, nice and cold in my basement. lovely northeast weather. Okay, we're going to flip it over. I'll zoom in this time so you can see a little bit closer what I'm working on. Here we go. Make sure we're focused. All right. This side has a bigger gap right here, so you'll see I'm going to get a little bit of extra joint compound in there. And just smoothing it out with your finger. Works pretty good. If you get a little bit of extra right here, like I did here, you can just use the other side of your toothpick. Pick that out. There we go. And once we paint this, you'll see it masks that corner pretty well. If you are a listener of our podcast, you might have remembered Doug Fiscali talking about this tip when I asked him how he conceals those corners when I was working on the Wiley waterproofing kit. He kind of gave us this tip. So it's not my original tip. I just wanted to show you how we do it. I don't know if it's Doug's original tip or if he learned it from someone else, but I'm just explaining it how I'm doing it for this kit. All right. You can do this really for any Hydrocal kit as well. Okay. And once we hit that, I'm probably just going to dry brush it with just a little bit of that brick red paint. And I'm going to match the foundation also with just a little dry brush of the stone colors that I used. Or block or stone, I don't know what you call it. All right, we got 3 of them done. Let's do this last one. And then you'll know in about 8 to 10 minutes, that's about all it took us. You'll have all of your Hydrocal walls, your corners, joined so that way they look smooth and seamless. Because in real life, you know, you probably wouldn't be seeing these big gaps on every corner unless it was put together really by a really shoddy bricklayer. Sorry to all of the shoddy bricklayers out there. But, you know, with these Hydrocal walls, you can only get so close with sanding them and matching them up that I find it, when I did this with Wiley waterproofing, after Doug told us about it, pretty easy and simple way to make sure your walls are matched up nice and well. I got a little bit too much in that corner, so I'm just going to use my toothpick to pick a little bit of that out. There we go. Same with right here. Okay. Clean up this last little part. All right, there we go. So this stuff doesn't dry very fast. Even though we put it on with a small amount, it takes a while to dry. I'm not going to go ahead and I'm not going to attempt to paint this until tomorrow, just because I've rushed it before, and you know, you guys know, anytime you try to rush something like this, it's going to end up bad. So best bet is to just let it dry overnight and come back in the morning, and we will paint these to match up. That way they all look good, and you won't even be able to see those joints. All right, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, remember to subscribe and hit that bell button and give us a thumbs up if you want. If you don't want to, whatever. Won't break my heart. But yeah, that's where we're at so far. The next couple steps, we'll actually be beginning to put these two together. I think it kind of goes up like this. I'm not too... have to look at the instructions. I think it goes like right here. So there's a little foundation that goes with this wood structure. But we'll start to marry these two together, and we'll begin to work on roofing and all that. But awesome. Thanks again, guys. Have a great evening.